Okay. So you guys are starting off what will be at least a 2-year degree effort here at CWI, and hopefully many of you, maybe most of you, will go on to get a bachelor's degree in engineering. And I did the same thing. I had the same pathway in my own education. I grew up in Indiana and went to a small 2-year school near Chicago. Got an AS degree in engineering, and then went to Purdue University and got my bachelor's and master's degree at Purdue, which is not too far. Purdue is a big engineering school in Indiana, and it's a state school. Then I went off to work for IBM Microelectronics, doing R&D in chips, all kinds of chips. Very similar to Micron's R&D here in Boise. I worked in Burlington, Vermont, and in Poughkeepsie, New York for IBM for a total of 14 years, doing 5 different generations of memory and microprocessor chips. And then I've been teaching for 25 years after that. So I started off my teaching career at a small school a few miles to the east of here called Boise State. And I came from IBM to Boise State right when Boise State started the very first engineering program. In fact, I was the first electrical engineer hired by Boise State to teach. And I was there for 10 years. We built the new buildings. We created a master's degree program in engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical. We created a PhD in electrical engineering and now in materials engineering. And I left BSU and came a few miles this direction, and I've been teaching at NNU and leading the program in engineering there for the last 11 years. So that's a little bit about me, and I would love to learn about each of you. But let me share a little bit with you about this other institution. It's right across. How many of you have at least been on the campus one time of NNU for sports or some kind of musical event? So several of you have. It's off of 12th Avenue in South Nampa. And you have this flyer, you get a feel for a little bit about engineering. You're not going to get a feel for all of NNU from this. So NNU started, I'm sort of giving a little bit of my presentation that's not connected right now. I could end up giving all of it, we'll see. But NNU started their engineering program right after World War II. In fact, one of the Manhattan Project scientists, Dr. Ford, came from the Manhattan Project. You know, that's the big project that created the nuclear weapons for World War II. And he came with a great education, having worked at Yale and Berkeley, and brought that to Little Nampa, Idaho, which was much littler at that time, in 1945, and created an engineering and physics program, engineering physics program at Northwest Nazarene. It has been a small program for a long time, but really high quality, and every class of students that graduated had to do both a research project, a hands-on build research project, and a thesis in order to graduate with a 4-year degree from NNU. So there were a small number of graduates for many years, maybe, well, from 1947, which was the first graduating class. There's still some of those folks living in Nampa that are still alive. 1947 until 2014. NNU graduated about 5, 6, 7 engineering physics students each year. In 2014, we made a fundamental shift to create an ABET accredited engineering program. And ABET accreditation is important for engineering. It means that you can sit for the professional engineers exam, and you can get accepted into graduate schools around the country and go to work immediately with your 4-year bachelor's degree in the field of engineering. So that's important, and we worked hard on that, and we got that accreditation in 2014. So we've graduated 8 graduating classes so far. We're graduating about 20 students a year with an engineering degree from NNU, about 20 students a year. So we have about 90 students in our program, 4 years. By the way, it is possible and actually very likely to graduate from NNU in 4 years with a bachelor's degree. And that's not always the case, but it's usually the case. So we created 5 disciplines of engineering in this new program that didn't exist before. And you can see them here on the front of this page where it has our NNU logo. Oh, we managed to get selected this year for the Colleges of Distinction, which we're kind of proud of, so we put that logo up there. You see these 5 concentrations. They are agricultural engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, and engineering physics, which is basically nuclear engineering, pre-nuclear engineering. So in agricultural engineering, we have a professor from the University of Florida, Ag, who's doing some great robotic fruit picking. Here if you've been to Marsing, all along the Parma to Marsing agricultural area along the Snake River, there's all kinds of orchards and vineyards and specialty crops. And so we're working with those to do peach picking, apple picking, all kinds of soft fruit picking robots. So these are, if I can show you a picture, you'll see the picture in a moment here. We're also using artificial intelligence to look at the trees and count the blossoms and determine, basically predict the yield of that orchard or that vineyard by counting blossoms early in the season. We can predict the yield, and that helps the farmer, the rancher, to know what to expect for market conditions and so forth. So ag engineering is a big deal, and most of our ag engineering is not about the biology at NNU, it's about the mechanics, it's about the equipment, the agricultural equipment. Mechanical engineering, we're doing a lot of robotics and control systems. We're working with House of Design, which is right here nearby. And we have a brand new robotics professor that just arrived from Cornell, and she's really cool. Her name is Autumn Pratt. She does soft robotics, robotics that you can imagine with soft tissue. I'll call it tissue. It's really a soft material, rubbery material that's very humanoid-like and allows you to pick up soft things like eggs without breaking an egg. And she also has done anthropomorphic robots and robots that mimic biology. For instance, an amphibious robot that walks across the tabletop or walks across the floor, jumps in a pool of water and has a fin and swims away. So some sort of like a frog or amphibian kind of robot. So we're doing a lot of aerospace. That's a mixture of mechanical and electrical engineering, and I'll talk about aerospace in a moment. And then electrical engineering, we work closely with both ON Semiconductor here in Nampa and Micron, and that's on the micro side. On the power side, we work with Schweitzer Electric, Idaho Power, and Power Engineers. In computer engineering, you can do embedded systems, you can do AI, you can do everything in between, such as Internet of Things, embedded software. And then in engineering physics, that really prepares you for nuclear and solar energy work. And we have a new professor there that's very young. He's in his 20s, and he just came from CERN in Switzerland, from the Large Hadron Collider in CERN that discovered the Higgs boson 5 years ago or so and got the Nobel Prize. So he did his work there in CERN, and he came directly to NNU in Nampa from there. His name is Ben Pearson. He's doing great. So that gives you a feel for what you can do at NNU. We do have a collaborative program with DSU in civil engineering as well. So you can do civil engineering at NNU and take a few classes with DSU. Any questions so far?
easiest way to do this would be file share, like OneDrive or whatever, or if you have a thumb drive, we can transfer the PowerPoint. I have a thumb drive. Here you go.
Okay, that'd be great. I do have an SSD. I'll just move it over. Cool.
That'll be the best way to do it.
Thank you for your help.
Yeah. Just right there should be fine. I'll copy it over for you.
All right. Any questions? If you look at the backside, you get a feel for what our culture is like. First of all, you see some of our students either working on projects together or actually working with, what we do is every year we go on a mission trip with an engineering project somewhere in the third world. So this picture is from Papua New Guinea, which is way down in the South Pacific. We went there 2 years in a row, and there's one more thing I'm going to put on there. Go for it. I have one more.
Yep, should be great.
So we go on these trips with our students every year in May after school is out. The seniors work on a project all year long. Not all the projects are for the third world. Some of them are for local companies like Micron or onsemi. But some of the projects are to meet a really specific need, usually in the area of clean water or power, especially renewable power like solar or wind. So water and wind projects, internet connectivity projects. This year we're working on a school, an elementary school for a small village in the Maasai tribal region of Kenya in Africa. And we're going to, we've already delivered the steel structural plan for that school building. And we're going to create a solar system for that building on the roof that not only charges a lithium battery pack inside the school and allows them to charge all their portable, not just for the school kids, this is for the entire village. The village has no power at all, so this will be the location to charge your portable electronics in the village. So we have that DC to DC conversion and the battery storage, but we're adding something really cool, which is a Starlink connection. And by having the Starlink connection, we have high bandwidth internet that we can deliver on a hub, a router, and deliver Wi-Fi within the perimeter of that school building. This is life-changing, totally life-changing for this village. The village is named Impash, and it's a little like an Indian reservation in the U.S. where they put all of the natives in a confined area and you have to live there. So this is the same idea. So we're really helping the Indian reservation of Kenya, the Maasai tribal area. Looks like we got the PowerPoint slide in. Yeah, great. Awesome. So we travel around, you can see that bullet there near the end of that bullet list, traveling around the world to deliver humanitarian engineering solutions like renewable energy, clean water, solar energy, internet, to places such as Myanmar. We've been to Myanmar, Papua New Guinea, Liberia, Kenya, Argentina, and Peru. And one of the other things that's kind of unique about NNU is the liberal arts side, kind of trying to be balanced in both the engineering and the liberal arts side. So we really focus on having a well-rounded liberal arts education as well. And it shows up in the ability of the students to communicate, both verbally and in writing. So if you look down the rest of the list, some of those are pretty common. Internships and passing the FE exam. NNU is a Christian institution, so it allows you also, in addition to building your engineering knowledge, to build your faith. And we also have a lot of experience. Like I told you, my background at IBM, Our other electrical computer engineer is an Imagineer from Disney. And we have a mechanical engineer from Lockheed Martin in aerospace. And we have, I think I mentioned the skills of some of the other faculty. So at this point, are there any questions, or should I dive into my pitch here? Let me go ahead and do that. This is just a slide of the quad at NNU with the library in the picture here. So I already told you the story about engineering back since the Manhattan Project and the new accredited engineering. It started in 2010, but the accreditation was in 2014. And this slide's a little bit old. We have about 130 graduates now, and 90% of those passed the FE exam. Has Dr. Custer told you about the FE exam? It's the exam you take at the end of your 4 years of college while you're still a student. It's a nationwide exam. It's 7 hours long, but you can make it. And it's in all of the subjects that you've taken during the 4 years. Every different flavor of class. The fundamentals of engineering exam is the exit exam for your 4-year education. And so all of our students take it in their very last semester of their senior year, and we have a 90% first-time pass rate, which is because we're working so hard at it. The national average first-time pass rate is about 70%. So that is the FE, or Fundamentals of Engineering exam. And then those are the concentrations that I mentioned. You see the big stamp of approval there, that's the ABET logo for engineering accreditation. Oh, this is one of our graduates was a 3-time space shuttle astronaut, Rick Heeb, and he serves on our advisory board right now and helps us, especially with aerospace projects. He retired from NASA and went to work for Lockheed Martin as the vice president of human space exploration for several years. He was responsible for the Orion space capsule that's going into space, hopefully, by the end of the year. We're still hoping that that spacecraft will go into space by the end of the year. He's now retired, but he teaches aerospace at the University of Colorado. These are some of the companies here that we've got engineers working at. Just to give you a flavor of where NNU engineers go to work. This is just a snapshot, it's not all of them. Some of them you recognize and some of them you might not. One of our recent alums went to Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos' company, and he's a propulsion engineer working on the Blue Moon rocket. They're still hoping to get funded, despite SpaceX getting the big contract with NASA to fly the Blue Moon rocket. And he is the lead propulsion engineer on that, so we're cheering for him that he gets a chance to send his rocket engine to the moon. Yeah. These are some of the graduate schools, and I need to go into present mode, don't I? Let's clear this up a little bit. Well, does that put this next slide up there? Let's see if I can get out of that mode. Huh. Forgot which of these buttons gets me out of that mode. Well, if you guys don't mind it, I don't mind it. You're okay with that? Fine. We have students at these graduate schools right now. Of course, you don't have to go to graduate school. I would say by the time students have been out of school for 10 years, at least 50% have gone on to graduate school. For a master's at least, just for a master's degree. But at the end of school, when everybody's tired and they just got their degree and they're ready to go work and make a $80,000 a year salary, it's probably closer to 10 to 20% of the students go immediately on for a master's degree. 80% would go on and take a job and perhaps deliberately take that job in a place, a location where they know they can go to graduate school with the support of the company that they're working for. That actually worked really well for me. IBM sent me back to school while I was employed, and I got my PhD with the support of the company that I worked for, and financially that was a good situation. So if you can get supported for graduate school by the company that you work for, and support your family and finish graduate school in a reasonable amount of time, that's a good path. Well, I told you about agriculture at NNU. These are two of our professors, Dr. Griffin on the left and Dr. Balanin on the right. And we do drones over the field, a lot of drone research, but we also do robots. And so the robot here, you can see a little bit of this small robot model. But if we look at the next slide here, you can see the orchard bot, the fruit picking bot. I didn't get to bring a video. I saw it was just taken this past Saturday of the team out in the Sunny Slope orchards picking peaches. This robot was pretty fast and adept at picking peaches. This arm right here in the upper right-hand corner, that's our one of my seniors, Colton, working on the arm, and it recognizes the peach, reaches in and grabs it carefully, but not too hard, and it twists it, and it breaks the stem every time. Pulls it out, drops it. So it has a little twist that's just perfect for breaking the stem and not damaging the fruit. You can see that some of the bots are tracked like a little tank so they can climb up hills in the vineyards and orchards and so forth with cameras. And this has a spray tank behind it for doing strategic spraying, imaging damaged, unhealthy plants and spraying. Any questions about that ag research? Are any of you ag oriented or ag interested? Maybe? It's a good thing for Idaho, you know. Idaho will always be a leading ag state, and this is certainly an ag area that we're in. So I also want to tell you about satellite space projects, and so you can see a collection of pictures here from over the years. We've been doing for 11 years now, 10 years, we've been doing space projects every year. Something from NNU has gone into space every year. And some of them have come back because some of them are suborbital, where they go up and they splash down in the Atlantic Ocean and they're retrieved, and we bring them all the way back to Nampa and study the data. And some of them are orbital. So 3 of them are still in orbit. They've been in orbit for 4 years. 4 years, 3 years, and 2 years. And some of them, maybe 8 projects, are sitting back in the lab at NNU, and we actually got the data back. Our most recent one is not shown here, but it flew in August, and it was very successful. It has some really cool video from it extended an arm in space. So I have some show and tell here. This is a piece of one of the arms. It extended out 1 meter away from the spacecraft, and out at the end of that was this really cool 3-dimensional camera, 360-degree virtual reality camera to take a. So this was out at the end of the boom, and the boom went out about 1 meter away from the spacecraft. Took this really cool video, came back in, closed up, watertight, re-entered the atmosphere, fiery re-entry, and splashed down the salty Atlantic, and we still got everything back intact. So that's pretty cool. I'll pass this stuff around. Don't drop the camera. This is a working camera, and this is not the camera that flew actually, but it's a working version of it. And here's just another piece I'll pass around. This is like a little sealed electronics box that can survive re-entry heat. It has a gasket on the bottom that seals tight, so there's a camera port right here with a seal around the camera for like a GoPro camera. And the students all etched their names on the project, which is cool. We did all this machining with the CNC mill at NNU, and also it's anodized, I think. So that gives you a feel for, this project was in collaboration with Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL.
Did this one fly?
This one flew. That one flew. Those pieces did not fly, but they're identical to the ones that did. So you can see some of these projects with cameras and little drawers. There's the Earth in the background. That's a rotisserie, a lot like a spit, doing some electromechanical testing. This is a satellite that's in orbit called RivSat, and this is a satellite that's in orbit called MakerSat. And we also did some zero gravity stuff on the Vomit Comet for 2 years in a row. That is me. And I am in 0G. There's proof right there. The meter says 0.01 G. And that was a blast. The best ride, better than Disney. So the students got to go. You can see them upside down there, having a good time in between the work sessions. There was a little bit of work and a lot of play. So there's a timeline of the projects, and it doesn't really go to 2021 because 2020 was a dead year, right? Everything got postponed. And so this project called Spacewalker Virtual Reality, actually didn't fly until August of this year because of COVID. So the students went just in August.